You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
And 5. In NBA games of note, the Cavaliers are 8-0 after a 116-114 win over the Bucks. Thunder are 7-0. They beat the Magic 102-86.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. It is Election Day. That's right. Proud American tradition of electing our leaders, including our president, and we get that opportunity today. So go vote. You know, it's as simple as that. So it's a big day in our country, and always a big day in sports here on the Gary Harris Show. We know that. And for some reason, Chase, I don't know why, my internet over here is very slow today. Maybe it's the election. Maybe it's slowing everything down. There it was. I think Barry Sanderson, if Barry's listening, he opens up like 62 different pages. And not just on one screen, but then he's like opened up a screen over a screen. You know what I mean? Total inadequacy when it comes to the internet. So you got to come in and you got to close out about 62 pages. Also, this, Chase, let Wyatt know this. To get future Google Chrome updates, you'll need Windows 10 or later. This computer is using Windows 7, so we need to do an update, too, here on the computer. Make a note of that, my friend, because I don't like – hey, listen, you know me, I don't like slow internet, pal. When I pull something up, I want to pull it up now. I want to get the information at hand as quickly as I can. All right, I'm Gary Harris, Chase Brumfield alongside as well. With you next couple of hours, talking sports and more here on the Big Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. And got a good show on tap. We're going to run it down for you in just a second, touch on what's going on in the world of sports, and get to some phone calls. But first, I need to tell you, as always, this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more about your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. AlabamaCU.com. That's AlabamaCU.com. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, boy, what a sports morning we have on this Tuesday. Alabama basketball, men and women, opening things up last night in a doubleheader at Coleman Coliseum. And it was one of those Bama parties now on both ends, the men and the women. In fact, I liked what Christy Curry had to say after the game. There was a really big crowd because of the doubleheader with the men and Crimson Chaos involved. But I liked what she had to say about, listen, our team deserves your support. And it's true. I mean, this is a team that can stand on its own. I'm glad they were able to do that doubleheader last night. But this Alabama women's basketball team is legit. And, get out there and support them. They play Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And get on out there and support Alabama women's basketball because they've got a really good team. Obviously, the men, it's going to be rocking. There's no doubt about that. The men are, a special team. But this women's team is really good as well. And Alabama able to open up the season last night in style with both the men and the women winning lopsided games. You had Sarah Ashley Barker and Aaliyah Nye combining for 48 points. Alabama beat New Orleans 115-53. That's right. As impressive as the men's win was, it was not as big as the women's win, 115-53. So the Alabama women really impressive in their opener, and they play again on Sunday at 2 o'clock. The Alabama men, much the same, rolled over UNC Asheville out of the Big South Conference. Not a bad team, But the Alabama men took care of business in a big, big way last night, 110-54. All 11 players that played scored in the game, including a walk-on there at the end. All 10 of the scholarship players that played. 6 players in double figures, led by Mark Sears with 20. Omori, the center, had 16 and 8. It was just an impressive performance all the way around. And we're going to have some Nate Oates audio for you this morning with the head basketball coach of Alabama, who met with the media last night after the game. And I had that box score, and I'm trying to pull it up now. Let's see here. Oh, gosh. Let me pull it up. But anyway, I wanted to go through the box for you just to show you how balanced this team is. And let's see if I can find it real quick. I told you the computer's slow, and it's messing with my mind here. Don't like it. All right, I can't pull it up at the moment. But you pull. Let's see here. I found it. I finally found it. It just did not pull up. I got it. All right, so I want to go through the box score a little bit with you. Just try to do it off memory, but this is how balanced this team is. First of all, you don't have a young blood yet who's going to be coming back in mid-December. It appears they're going to redshirt Cunningham and Millette. So you're going to have 11 scholarship players that are available once you get to the heart of the season. But last night, Reed, Stevenson, Omori, Philon, and Sears started. Reed played 22 minutes, had 9 points, 6 rebounds. Stevenson played 21 minutes, had 10 points and 7 rebounds. Omori played 19 minutes, 16 points and 8 rebounds. Omori also had 2 blocks. Reed had a block and Stevenson had a block. Philon played 24 minutes, had 10 points, 2 blocks, 3 steals, and 9 assists. How about that card? And 2 rebounds. Sears, 20 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. And then off the bench, Mo Diabate just continues to play well. 16 minutes, 11 points, 7 rebounds. Sherrill in 17 minutes had 6 points and 9 rebounds. Nelson only played 2 minutes. They're trying to, I'm sorry. Look, they played 15 minutes. That's about what he was on, a 15-minute time deal. 2 points and 3 rebounds, but he's kind of playing himself back into shape. Reitzel played 16 minutes, had 13 points, 3 rebounds. Holloway played 24 minutes, had 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. And even the walk-on, you got to love this, Max Charnowski, 6'6", senior out of Illinois, got in the game, and he too scored 2 points and had 2 rebounds. Youngblood's out until mid-December. As we said, it looks like Cunningham and Millette are going to be redshirted. This team is loaded. They shot 63% from the field, 44% from 3, 70% from the free throw line. Could still do a little bit better there. They held UNC Asheville to 27.4% shooting from the field, 23% from 3. Just a dominant performance all the way around. And let me get to some team stats here. I gave you but rebounding wise, Alabama out-rebounded them 55-29, 21 assists to 8 assists. Now, UNC Asheville did have 6 steals to Alabama's 5. Alabama only had 10 turnovers, but UNC Asheville only had 9. Points in the paint, 56-18. I mean, just a total domination by the Alabama men and the women as well. All right, coming up on the show today at 9:30, it's the Rocket Man, Rudy Arman. At 10:15, it's the Tennessee Titans Report with Kayla Anderson. At 10:30, it's the celebrated sports artist Steve Skipper, a good friend of mine who, of course, has that new painting of Nick Saban, which was unveiled with Nick and Terry Saban just a couple of weeks ago. It's incredible. We'll talk about his incredible accomplishments in the world of art, not just with sports, but world leaders as well, and his journey to get there. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. Also, Nate Oates' post-game audio from last night following Alabama's win. And Chase sent me the clips of DeBoer as well. I may get to some DeBoer, but listen, DeBoer ran live yesterday. He ran during Ryan's show. He ran this morning during Martin's show. He ran during Wimp and Barry's show. So we've run a lot of Kalen DeBoer. We will tell you that Cole Adams, the outstanding receiver from Oklahoma, out for the season with a lower leg injury, suffered against Missouri. Disappointing there. He was also Alabama's punt returner, but he'll be back stronger next year. Really good young player, but disappointing there. But we got a lot to get to. So, like I said, we'd love to hear from you. 205-342-9904 is the number to the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. We're off and running on the Gary Harris Show this hour, presented by Alabama Credit Union. We'll take our first time out and come back with much more here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. All polling places are open and huge crowds are being reported at most all across West Alabama. Tuscaloosa County Probate Judge Rob Robertson advises there are times that are better than others to vote, such as mid-morning, mid-afternoon. If you are in line when the polls close at 7 o'clock tonight, you still will be able to cast a ballot. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news throughout the day. It's free. Keep up with the election returns tonight, beginning at 8 on the top of the hour. Local vote returns. I'm Don Hartley.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free. Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time.
Dish soap. There's more to imagine when you listen. Discover heart-stopping romance titles on Audible.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's management dream team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky cloudy at times today and tonight. We'll have the chance of a few scattered showers around. The high today 77, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow and Thursday mostly cloudy. A chance of showers and storms both days. Highs between 75 and 78. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 72 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:17. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Hey, my friends at Who's Q and Brew, Chase, have a really special election day. You know, Michael Hunger, the manager there, is, I've said this before, he's so such an outside-the-box thinker. Always, you know, like the fried Little Debbie's. And now listen to this. They've got Election Day 2024 specials at Who's Q all day long, 15% off your meal with I Voted sticker. Now, 15% off is a pretty good discount. So you go vote, and then you go eat lunch or dinner at Who's Q and Brew. off Highway 82 in the Northridge Center in Tuscaloosa, and you show them your I voted sticker, you're getting 15% off. They're going to have election coverage on all their TVs, almost like a sports event tonight, with all the election coverage coming in. And they're going to have their live trivia at 6:30 p.m. So special election day at Who's Q and Brew in Tuscaloosa. Get by and see them. 15% off your check with a I voted sticker. All right, SEC basketball. We mentioned Alabama rolling, and boy, did they ever. But it was not such a good opening night for some other teams. There were several SEC teams that took it on the chin, and you never want to lose your opener, particularly if you're playing a team that you expect to win against. Now, there was a tough, Missouri went to Memphis. That's a tough game. But some of these other teams, not so much. And there were some big losses. Some wins, too. Let me just run the scoreboard down for you. Kentucky rolled over Wright State 103-62. But A&M, ranked number 13, went on the road to UCF, which is no easy game. And they lost 64-61. Tennessee beat Gardner-Webb, number 12 Tennessee. Kentucky, by the way, is 23. Number 12 Tennessee over Gardner-Webb, 80-64. How about this one? This is a bad loss here. South Carolina at home fell to the University of North Florida, 74-71. Georgia barely beat Tennessee Tech, but they did win, but barely, 83-78. Mississippi State over the University of West Georgia, 95-60. Vanderbilt rolled, and I'm not, this must be University of Maryland Eastern Shore. It's UMES is what it says on the scoreboard. So I'm assuming it's University of Maryland Eastern Shore. It just says UMES on the SEC scoreboard. 102-63, Vanderbilt won it, though. Memphis, as we talked about, knocked off Missouri with a big second half. Mizzou was up 42-32 at the break. This was in Memphis. Memphis wins at 83-75. Florida beats USF 98-83. Ole Miss over Long Island 90-60. We mentioned Alabama rolling UNC Asheville 110-54. Oklahoma over Lindenwood 93-60. Big win for Texas on the road as they win at Ohio State. Number 19 Texas with a nice win, 80-72. So that's your SEC scoreboard. All right, phone lines are wide open. It's slow this morning. 205-342-9904 is the number on the Pinnacle Park and North River hotline. While we've got some time, let's go ahead and get to some of that Nate Oates audio. This is Nate Oates from last night after Alabama blew out UNC Asheville.
Thought it was a good opening night for us. It's the first time we had all these guys available. Thought it was a good game for some guys to get their feet wet. I thought our start defensively was great. Thought Mark Sears' defensive efforts significantly better than what it was last year. I think you guys can all see it. The one possession, we didn't end up finishing it well. We ended up fouling a three-point shooter, but just his effort on the ball. I love the fact that the crowd recognized how hard he was playing on defense, got into it. First off, the crowd was unbelievable. It's the best crowd we've had for an opener since I've been here. It's a sellout. So, we needed to keep continuing like that. So, huge thank you to student section. I heard we had more students wanted to come than we had room for, which is great. We need that to be that way every game. Thankful to all the season ticket holders that come make it. They got people in their seats. So, that was great, but we've got some young guys that we need to get some experience. I thought LeBaron looked great, had 9 assists, almost had a double-double. We need one more assist. Aiden Sherrill won the hard hat. He had 9 rebounds and limited minutes. So, Darion Reed had some big-time plays too. He had 9 and 6, and thought he started kind of getting more comfortable. He hit that 3 and made his free throws there. So I'm really happy with the effort from everybody, but obviously the games are going to get a little tougher here moving forward.
Yeah, Nate, plus 39 from Aiden Holloway in his first game for you guys. What stood out about his performance, and what did you like?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. He, I think maybe my favorite play he had was when he got on the floor for that loose ball that we scored off after he got off on the floor for that. He's making some tough plays, showing he's got some toughness. He can really be a good defensive guard. He's got the quickness to be a great defensive guard. So, and he's not passing up open threes. I think, you saw he's capable of shooting it. He's got range. We don't want him passing up any open shots ever. He went 2 or 3 from 3. Him and Sears both shot it really well. They're really the only 2 guys that shot it decent. We didn't shoot it great from 3 tonight outside of those 2. And Mo Diabate went 1 for 1 too, which is good. He's been working a lot on his game, and he's a tough kid that makes tough plays. But, I was really happy with Holloway. 11 points, didn't have a turnover. Kind of the questions that maybe came up were with some of the stuff in practice, maybe some exhibitions where, we needed to be a better defender and need him to take care of the ball. I thought he was pretty good on defense. I thought he took care of the ball, and we know he can shoot it, and he shot it really well tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive effort, but how much better equipped do you think this team is to be a good defensive team from a length and personnel standpoint?
Yeah, you saw it early in the game. They couldn't get a shot off. We were blocking shots. Barron had a block. Darian had a block. Jaron Stevenson. You look down the list. We had 4 different guys at blocks with, Jaron, Darian. Barron's got length at the guard spot. Cliff's obviously a big-time rim protector. He had 2 blocks tonight. So, but then we also got guys that Mo Diabate's got length. Grant Nelson's got length. I think we can be a great defensive team if we continue to keep the right mindset. We held them to a .74, which, which is good, very good. I think we can be better. We give up too many old boards. We fouled 3-point shooters twice, which isn't good defense. But I thought it was a good first game.
All right, that's some of what Nate Oates had to say. We'll get back to the coach a little bit later on. Right now, though, we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and talk with Philip. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Gary. I'll tell you what impressed me last night about Reed was some of the passes he made for a young guy. I thought were extremely noteworthy because there were a few that he made sort of close to the top of the key, and he would find Sears. I think both times he found Sears cutting, and he delivered passes that only Sears could touch, and nobody else could touch him. I thought that was pretty good to see for a young guy like that to do that. He seems to have a really good basketball IQ, a really top-notch basketball IQ.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I was at work, so and it was odd because the game was on ESPNU, and our system through the university cable system does not have ESPNU, and I couldn't watch it on ESPN Plus because I guess they didn't, since it was on ESPNU. So I was just having to monitor it through the box score, but and Twitter clips. I had somebody shoot the game though, so I watched, showed the highlights. But you're right, he looks like a guy that not only is a great athletic talent, but you're right, has a really high basketball IQ too. That's a great combination.
Right, and there's just so many positives to talk about that it's hard to go through them all. But I talked to Wimp and Barry early this morning, and it just seems like Coach Oates is just getting more and more comfortable with interviews and the way he deals with the team afterwards, and just a really comfortable vibe I get from him. And I think that's really been part of our success. Your recruiting and all that is one thing, but he's just sort of hit another level on his own.
Yeah, I agree. I just think he's, it's become his job, and not that it wasn't, but what I mean by that, he's really, really much like Coach Saban now. He's just kind of, you associate Alabama basketball with Nate Oates and with what he's doing, and I think that he's, he's kind of feeling comfortable with the fact that it's his program, and it's now where he wants it to be. This program is built. It's established. You've got a Final Four. You've got 2 Sweet 16s. You got multiple SEC regular season and tournament championships. So the the resume's built. It's not just now this is where we want to go. Now we're here. We've arrived. And, Saban had that stretch with but from 2008 when they lost to Florida through, 20, especially from 2009 through about 2017, Alabama could have won the national championship about every year. It was just, it was, and that's where this basketball program, I think, is headed. I think they're going to consistently now, as long as he's the coach here, they're going to be in the conversation for Final Fours and national championships every single season. I don't see any drop off. I see the roster continuing to be maintained and talent brought in. The coaching style is unbelievable. I had Ryan Pannone as assistant on Friday, and he talked about how good Coach Oates is. So you're right, Philip. This is a special time for Alabama men's basketball. Unprecedented.
That's right. And the other good thing, and I'll close out, Gary. But it was fun from my standpoint to see how much enjoyment it looked like Aiden Holloway was getting out of last night. He was having a blast.
Yeah, he was. I think somebody else mentioned him to me already this morning. And said, he's a good player. And I said, yeah, he was a good player at Auburn. I just think sometimes it doesn't work. And for whatever reasons, Bruce Pearl's a good coach. That's a good program. It's a good team. But it didn't work for Aiden Holloway there. And so he moved on to Alabama, got a fresh start, and he looks comfortable. They love him. He loves playing here. So he's like I said, this roster is stacked. I mean, this roster, when you're having to probably redshirt two really good players in Cunningham and Millette just because your roster's that deep, I think that tells you where you're at. But that's smart. Those guys willing to do that, willing to be here a year and learn, and then next year understanding that it'll be their time. And that's just that's where this program's at, man. It's as I said, Coach Newton won 3 straight SEC championships. I think it was 74, 75, and 76. Coach Sanderson had, some unbelievable teams. Gottfried, you go all the way back to the Rocket 8 with Johnny D. But as far as where this program's at, like I said, this is unprecedented. Coming off a Final Four, number 2 in the country. These are good times, man.
They really are, Gary, and I'm here to enjoy it with you, man.
Thank you, Philip.
Appreciate you.
All right, we're going to come back with the Rocket Man, Rudy Armin, talk more Alabama basketball and football next here on the Gary Harris Show.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept, Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m., available for after.
Every game, all season, right here on your home for Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Want to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Download the Tide 100.9 app today.
All right, it's 9:32, and it's time for the Rocket Man, Rudy Armin, 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville, where he co-hosts Talking Ball with Scott Tyson, weekday morning, 7 to 9. Also does a lot of other radio show appearances like my show, writes for Rodney Orr at TiderInsider.com, and really good outlet for us to talk Bama football and basketball and baseball and other sports with as well. Good morning, Drew.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing well. Let's start with Bama hoops. Again, I had to work last night at the station, and because the game was on ESPNU, which is not on the university cable system, I couldn't watch it on ESPN Plus because it was on ESPNU. So had somebody there shooting the game and was able to track it, of course, through the tracker and so forth. But and then, watch the highlights, but not seeing the game, but tracking it, you didn't have to see it to see how dominant a performance it was for Alabama last night. I mean, I've already gone over it, but I want to get your reaction. 11 players played, 11 players scored, including Sharnowski, the walk-on. Balanced, dominated the backboard, shot 63% from the field, 44% from three, moved the ball around, 21 assists, only 10 turnovers. I mean, it was what you would expect from the number 2 team in the country against, UNC Asheville out of the Big South, which, they've won several conference championships over the last few years. They're not a bad team, and Alabama just annihilated them 110-54.
Yeah, Mike Morrell, he's been there 7 years. They won 27 games 2 years ago. They won 22 last year. I think they lost in the SoCon championship game. So they're a really good program, a very solid program. And on the mid-major level, they're used to winning. They had good guard play last night and made some tough shots. But, this Alabama team is just a different animal. And Mike had been a GA back in the Godfrey era at Clemson and been to Alabama before. As he said, I think the last time he had faced the Tide was when Richard Hendricks was there. But as he was very frank last night, he said, "Look, this is the best Alabama team I've ever seen." He said, "I watched them on film; they're even better than in person than what I watched." He goes, "They screen really well, and of course, Big Cliff." Makes a huge difference. He blocked the first shot of the game. He ended up with 16 points. He's a much more efficient scorer than what Alabama had there at the 5 spot last year, and a much better finisher. But here's the thing that's also different: his backup is just as good. They don't lose a thing with Aiden Sherrill in there. I mean, let me correct myself. I was told last night Aiden Sherrill. Pardon me. So. It's the first time we've had a chance to see Aiden Sherrill because he didn't play in either exhibition game, and the guy's really light on his feet. He moves well. He did a great job on the offensive glass, keeping the ball alive. I pointed this out to Aaron Suttles of Alabama. They don't miss a thing when he's in there for Cliff. They still have rim protection. They still have great mobility at that spot. They still have, good ability to finish. He made free throws last night. He just did a really nice job, I thought, in his first, a foray out there in an Alabama uniform that we've seen anyway. Certainly they've seen him in practice, but, Aiden, I think he and Cliff are going to be quite a combination at that 5 spot. But I'm going to tell you what, Gary, the most improved player on this basketball team is Mo D, and that's Mohamed Diabate. He made a 3 last night. He's made them in the exhibitions. He shoots the free throws much, much better than a year ago. You can tell how much time he's put in the gym, and he's already ultra physical. Now, is he a prototypical 5? No, but he can play both the 4 and the 5 spot, and he's a winner. He just makes winning plays, and he's basically forced himself into the rotation last year and this season. And he's someone that probably didn't get a lot of buzz in the offseason. Matter of fact, I think a few people thought he might transfer following last year, but he brings so much culturally to your team,
right?
And physicality, and people he sort of rubs off on
absolutely.
People. And
yep.
I just think he's a winner, man, and I'm really impressed with all the work he's put in, and this team is so loaded, and the backcourt is so good with that foursome at guard with. Sears is Sears. He had 20 last night. He was ultra efficient. Did a great job once again getting to the free throw line. He does that better than any Alabama guard I've ever seen. Latrell Wright told us this is his first time back in a while. I was joking with him. I said, "Hey man, you've added some different things to you've been in the lab. You're making mid-range shots." He goes, "Yeah, well, if I take them, I better make them." And he made a couple of runners last night, and he looked really good off the bounce. And then Aiden Holloway played well, and then not to mention LeBaron Philon. His first official game in an Alabama uniform, 10 points and 9 assists. He's got to cut down on the turnovers, and get a little bit better, as Coach Oates said, rebounding the basketball. but he is smooth, man. And that foursome at guard is as good as any in college basketball, and it's so good that a sharpshooter like Houston Millett is gonna redshirt.
Yeah, that's what's amazing when you start looking at the depth of the roster. You're having to hold guys back, and you know what, young blood, and I know you've been told the same thing. They're so excited about what he's going to bring to this team in mid-December because of his physicality and his toughness, and yet another weapon. I assume, Drew, that the plan will still be to go ahead and play Youngblood when he's ready, right?
Yeah, I mean they're going to play him. They believe he's going to be ready by December, and with Houston Millett, the thought process was he got hurt. He was hurt when he arrived.
Mm-hmm.
He had some knee issues. He got back, but he didn't have a normal off season, and certainly he shot the ball well in both exhibition games. But he wants to have a full off season to get used to this style of play. And then he's also a plug-in, a perfect replacement for Latrell Wrightsell, in my opinion.
Right.
And he's a very high character kid. He played 4 years at Pepperdine, played for Lorenzo Romar. We had a chance to hear him speak to the media after he scored, 11 points and got double figures against Memphis, who, by the way, beat Missouri last night. But again, he was very, very well spoken. He's a high character kid. He wants to be a pro, and he thinks redshirting and getting used to the style, and then, again, he will have more playing time next year because the roster will be different. Every year it's going to be vastly different. And then with Nas Cunningham, Nas is very talented.
Absolutely.
6'7", but he needs to gain weight, and I think that's what Nate said last night. Coach Oates said they met extensively with Houston and his dad. It allows him to have a full off season and be completely healthy and ingratiate himself in the system. And then with Nas, there's so much depth because he only played a combined about 10 minutes in the 2 exhibition games. There's a lot of guys in front of him. A lot of those guys will move on and probably be in the NBA next year, but it gives him a chance to lift weights, get stronger. And as Coach Oates pointed out, Patton, the young man a couple years ago at Creighton when Preston Murphy was there, he redshirted and then came back and spent 1 year at Creighton and then went to the NBA. So they believe Nas Cunningham has NBA upside. He just needs to wait. And what they always say is the key in the NBA is the second contract. I mean, obviously Herb Jones should have been a first-round pick. Doesn't even matter now. He's got $53 million.
Right.
Okay, so it's what you make with the opportunity. Look at Keon Ellis. He went undrafted, but he starts now for the Kings. Okay, so obviously some people made a mistake on him as well. But what it means is Nate Oates develops pros, and so you trust the coaching staff. They've got a lot of NBA, Ryan Pannone NBA experience as a coach, Brian Adams. So they have a lot of NBA connections on their coaching staff. Alabama's considered, quote unquote, the 31st NBA franchise or whatnot. So again, Nas, I think, still has a chance to have a really nice career. And it's big that they trust the coaches enough to redshirt. Chris Parker did it last year, but injury had some things to do with that, and he needed to be skilled up. And yet he still, while he didn't stay at Alabama, he's at Villanova. So it worked out for him also. So I think all parties are going to be happy here. And when Youngblood comes back, they'll have an 11-man rotation. Right now they've got a 10-man rotation, and there ain't any drop-off from the second unit.
Yeah, there's not. And again, I'm just looking at the box score and just amazed at how balanced it was. And you had Nelson on a minutes restriction and Wrightsell on a minutes restriction. Sherrell, although they wound up playing all around 15 minutes or so, not a lot less than the starters. Do you anticipate, as Nelson plays himself back into game shape, that he will be back in the starting lineup, Drew, at some point?
Yes, I don't. He came back. I mean, he's earned his. He's got the pelt on the wall. I mean, and now people should even give him more credit last year for playing through a sports hernia for half the season. Okay, so he and as Nate Oates pointed out last night in the press conference, that's the first time Aiden Sherrell, Latrell Wrightsell, and especially Grant Nelson have played in a few weeks, and you could tell Grant was rusty. Okay. So he's got to knock the rust off. But once he does, I would definitely think he would be in the starting lineup. He fits the system so well. He's going to be able to play his natural 4 spot. I still like the way he played his floor game last night. He set up Cliff Amore a couple of times. for easy buckets. And, you know, he did miss a couple free throws, and I think that showed kind of the rust on his game. But he's certainly an outstanding talent. And, again, I think a lot of this is going to have to be sacrificing by guys. They're going to have to sacrifice rolls and shots and things of that nature. But I think Darion Reed and Aiden Sherrill, pardon me, going to have to keep getting myself acclimated to that. But both Aiden and Darion, I think they could have gone elsewhere. The way this roster kind of, came together for Alabama, because a lot of people going into last year, many people thought Grant Nelson was a one and done and was going to be first team all conference and go to the NBA. He decided not to. Mark Sears came back, but I think they all understand they can do some special things. This team reminds me depth wise of Kentucky's '96 team, which Antoine Walker came off the bench. They had an insane amount of depth on that team. They were able to finish and win a national championship. I think this Alabama team can do that. They just got to stay healthy, humble, and hungry, and I think they can be as good as any team we've seen. But they certainly were very impressive last night with scoring 110 and really kind of taking the foot off the gas with about 6-7 minutes to go. They scored 100 with 5 minutes to go, and so they could have run it up 120, 125, 130 easy. But again, they kind of slowed the pace a little bit and just decided to and again be respectful of UNC Asheville and their team, but just a very, very efficient offensive team. I mean, they scored 56 points in the paint. They shot 38 of 60 from two, and then only took 18 threes. They were 8 of 18. So this will be a team against others that will probably take 30-plus threes, but they didn't have to last night.
Friday night, you get Arkansas State in here with Brian Hodgson. So, they try to play similar to Alabama. Again, obviously, Alabama's much more talented, but Hodgson will have them ready to go. Do you expect a lopsided game there? Do you think Arkansas State might be able to put up a little more of a fight than UNC Asheville did?
Well, I was at the game last year, and it was Brian's first year, and Coach Hodgson, he was still trying to change the culture, and they had 2 or 3 guys injured. And I thought they played Alabama tough, but ultimately they subdued. I know he's recruited, really, really well there, signing top 100 kids that they've never seen like that before. I would expect him to play Alabama tougher than potentially UNC Asheville. UNC Asheville got doubled up really last night, and that's tough. They lost by 56 points. But, I'll just say, overall, I do think that Hodgson's group will probably be a little more physically talented, even though I really like the guards, though they were undersized for UNC Asheville. But I do think, no question, that they'll have a few more athletes probably, and then they'll be conditioned, because UNC Asheville, they don't really want to play like Alabama. They don't want to play at that pace. But Brian Hodgson has certainly got that blueprint for Nate Oates. He wants to play at that pace. He wants to run. He wants to get out. He wants to shoot the three. So if they shoot the three really well, and again, UNC Asheville came out firing from deep, but if he wants to, and I think their front line will probably match up a little bit better. UNC Asheville didn't have a lot. Their bigs were not very athletic. So having Cliff Amore and Aiden Sherrill in there gave them problems. They had trouble getting shots off. I still expect Alabama to win comfortably, but I do think the matchup will be a little bit better on Friday.
And Drew, as impressive as Alabama's men's team was, the women actually had a more lopsided victory against New Orleans, and they're in the top 25 for the first time in 25 years. And Christy Curry had a impassioned plea after the game for people to continue to come out. They had a big crowd last night, obviously as part of the doubleheader. But this is her best team. This is a team that's got experience. They've got depth. Obviously, Sarah Ashley Barker is one of the best players in the country. Aaliyah Nye. This is a team that could I think, maybe get to the round of 16 in the NCAA tournament. Just a word on the women's team while I've got you.
Well, I was able to check it out. I think she's got more depth this year. She played 9 ladies last night, and Leah Brooks, who's from my area, from Hazel Green, she's a freshman. She got, she's the only one of that top 9 that didn't play 10 minutes in the game, or almost really 13 to 14 to 15 minutes. But she played, and she's going to be a factor in the rotation. There's no doubt about it. Now, you know, they're not overly – they've got Essence Cody, but they don't really have a ton of bigs on the team. But, I mean, that's almost like women's college basketball this day and time. I mean, they've gone to a style of play where they spread you out. They shoot a ton of threes. Sarah Ashley Barker, she can shoot the triple, but she's really good, though, off the bounce and getting to the rim. Her game off the dribble is really strong. She had 23 last night. Aaliyah can really shoot it. I think she hit 7 threes. I think that's what I saw. She ended up with 25 of her own to lead the way. She's been a really good fit since she came over from Illinois. And then Carly Weathers can really shoot it. She's going to have kind of a new role as a starter, very likely, for this group. And then they've got the freshman from Florida. She ended up, I want to say, with I think she had 16 off the bench. She's from Montverde Academy. She's a really long, athletic guard. I mean, I'll just say this. Sometimes it just proves that if you stay the course, things work out. But, you know, Christy Curry, people don't really understand. I mean, I've had her on my show before, and when they made the NCAA tournament a few years ago and beat North Carolina, she was very emotional because, again, this was a humongous rebuild that she took on after being at Purdue and Texas Tech. I mean, Rick Moody got this program to the Final Four in 1994, but really, honestly, they had fallen on hard times. The recruiting wasn't great, and so it took a while to get this, to change the perception, to get this program to being a perennial NCAA program, which she's really done in the last 4 years. Now, the next, hump to get over and jump over is what you talked about, Gary, is winning that second game and getting to the next weekend. That would be huge for this program, and I think that's what the expectations are. And the cool thing about what she's done is she's really started to recruit top 40, top 50 high school level players, and then also now the one thing that kind of helped the program make the jump to a perennial NCAA team is they've done a really good job in the portal of kind of balancing it out, recruiting good high school players, but also getting young ladies out of the portal that really can help the team. And they've done a great job of kind of mastering that, she and her husband and the rest of their staff. I mean, I know they lost an assistant coach at Tennessee last year, but still, I think the program's in as good a shape as it's probably been since Rick Moody had these young ladies, where the Sweet 16 was the expectation pretty much every year back in the 90s.
And before we close out the segment, obviously there's a pretty important football game Saturday night in Baton Rouge. Alabama against LSU. It's pretty much an elimination game for the college football playoff. Clearly, Alabama would love to have those opportunities back against Vanderbilt and Tennessee, but there's nothing you can do about that. You lost those 2 games. But still, with 4 games to play, I feel really good. If Alabama runs the table, gets to 10-2, I think they're going to be in the college football playoff, but you can't get to 10-2 unless you win on Saturday night. This is a big one, Drew. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, I like Alabama in a very close one, around 27-24, 28-24. Certainly, they've got to start fast. I mean, really the only game this year they've done that was against Georgia, and this would be very significant for Kalen DeBoer and the staff because since Wisconsin, they haven't really played well on the road. And this would be their most significant win of the year, even more so than Georgia for me, because it would be this staff's first SEC road win. And it would set it up for your final 3 games. Now, I will say, you're not going to get a ton of brownie points for those final 3, so you're going to be heavily favored. You need to win them all. And if you do, and you get to 10-2, and you have a road win over an LSU team that is still very much in the SEC and college football playoff chase, and you have right now the best win, which is Georgia, at home, then I think you are in the college football playoff. I saw a projection this morning where Alabama was going to be 12. I've said I thought they'd probably be, when it's all said and done, 10, 11, 12, but if they could run the table. And I think they'd have a very, very strong case if they could. Now, if they don't beat LSU, it's going to be a moot point. LSU would still be alive, but they could knock LSU out of the college football playoff chase. And this is as wide open in SEC as I've seen. I don't see Alabama getting to Atlanta, but it won't matter. The biggest thing is just getting in the playoff.
Right.
Jalen Milroe can protect the ball, if they can run the football early especially, because this LSU defense has improved, Gary, under Blake Baker, but they still don't rank very highly in either rush defense or pass defense. I think plays are going to be out there to be made. And Kalen DeBoer in his career is really good coming off buys. He had him ready to play against Georgia. I think he'll have him ready to play against LSU. And it'll be a great game, but I like the Crimson Tide. And right now they're about a 3-point favorite. I like them around that number to beat LSU and move on and replant that property tax flag over in Red Stick. I heard someone yesterday say that, it's a really tough place to play. We'll see if Alabama can win at Tiger Stadium. They obviously haven't looked at past history.
No,
before.
Alabama's dominated down there. It's an amazing record that they have in Baton Rouge. And I think I'm with you. I'm amazed at how many people that cover college football aren't familiar with, I think it's 23-10 and a couple ties or whatever, Alabama's record in Baton Rouge, and they don't seem to have a clue. But that's where we're at. There's a lot of people covering college football, Drew, that probably shouldn't be, but more power to them. All right, great segment as always, and go ahead and fill everybody in on the different outlets and socials where they can find you.
Yeah, they can find me at Drew D 977 ESPN on X. Our station is at 977 ESPN. They can hear us talking ball. Scott Tyson and I Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. We're actually, after the rankings tomorrow night, we're going to have John Summerall of Tulane on, a Huntsville native. He'll be on the show on Wednesday morning. So we're looking forward to hearing from John. He's done a great job in his first year at Tulane. They're still in that mix for that group of four kind of deal. They're in the American Athletic. I know Boise State's getting a lot of buzz about that, but we'll see. But right now they're still in it, very much so, I think. And we're going to, and again, if you miss any of that, you can check out our SoundCloud page, ESPN 97.7 The Zone, or 977ESPN.com on our website. And we always enjoy being on the Gary Harris Show each week on Tide 109. And as the great Gene Stallings once said, there's a reason some of these people aren't coaches.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back to wrap up the first hour of the Gary Harris Show right after this.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard.
Better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky cloudy at times today and tonight. We'll have the chance of a few scattered showers around. The high today 77, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow and Thursday mostly cloudy. A chance of showers and storms both days. Highs between 75 and 78. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 72 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:59. That's going to wrap it up for hour number one, brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. A big hour number two coming up. Kayla Anderson with the Titans report at 10:15. Sports artist Steve Skipper at 10:30. Your phone calls. More from Alabama head men's basketball coach Nate Oates. All coming up in the second hour of the Gary Harris Show.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Kevin Wyatt.
Plenty of NFL news this morning. Jerry Jones appearing on 105.3 The Fan FM in Dallas and saying that quarterback Dak Prescott will be placed on injury reserve due to his hamstring injury, so he will be out a minimum of 4 games. And the Cowboys acquiring a wide receiver, Jonathan Mingo, from the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a 4th-round pick. Dallas will also receive a 7th-rounder in the deal. A couple other trades going down this morning. The Lions acquiring Browns pass rushers Zadarius Smith and a 2026 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2025 5th-rounder and a 2026 6th-round select.
Storage solutions, project and warehouse management, ARC flash studies, and more. Visit CED in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, and Decatur, and All Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. It's 10:02 on this Tuesday, November 5, Election Day 2024. I'm Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld alongside. Another hour of sports talk and more here on the Big Tide 100.9 FM. Actually, Chase, I was sitting here because I hate when we get app messages and I miss them. But a lot of times I miss them, trying to do all that I'm trying to do. And sometimes I'll notice that they'll come through after the show, but I don't see any in there today. Do you? Okay, so I hate when I miss them because I know when people take the time and effort to send in an app message, they want to be acknowledged, and I want to be able to acknowledge you, but haven't seen any recently, but I was even going back to see if there was some from yesterday, but I don't see any, so I apologize if I've missed them, but continue to use that app message, so it's always good to hear from you. Hey, I got to pat myself on the back here, Chase, because I bounced back with after a 2-5-1 and 2-4 record my last couple of weeks. How about this, folks? This is the Gary Harris point spread SEC predictions last week. How about this? Ole Miss at Arkansas, -7. I took the Rebels. Win. Ding, 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 ding. Vandy at Auburn. Vandy +8. I took the Commodores. Ding, 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 ding. Georgia and Florida. Wasn't that final? It was 14. Let me pull the SEC scores up. Pull the SEC scores up. I think I got a push there. Before I go bragging here, hang on a second. We're going to get to Brady here in just a minute. Hold tight on the hotline. We'll get to you. This computer, as I've said, is so slow this morning. Hang on. Because I want to go through these picks real quick. All right, I got it. I found it. I got it. Just slow pulling it up, man. I'm usually much faster on the internet than this. All right, so I had, as I said, Ole Miss -7 winner. Vandy +8 winner. Georgia -14 against Florida was a push. Georgia wound up winning by 14. Mississippi State -18 against UMass was a winner. They won by 25. I had -18. USC, South Carolina +3 against A&M. Ding, 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 ding. Big time winner. And Kentucky plus a 17.5 winner. They lost 28-18. So what does that add up to? Let me tell you what that adds up to. That adds up to 5-0-1. Doggone right. So let me write this in here. So let me see where this puts me for the year after this nice comeback. I may be, let's see here. So let's see. I'm 11, 16, 22, 24, 25, 30, 32, 34, 39 wins. 7, 15, 19, 23, 28, 30, 35, 39 losses, and 3 ties. So I'm back to 500. 39, 39, and 3. What a comeback. Hey, 500 ain't winning, but it ain't losing. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and talk to Brady here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Brady.
Hey, how we doing?
Doing great.
That's good. I think this has been a narrative all week. I just kind of want to talk some about the game this weekend. I'll be there in Baton Rouge. Should be a good time.
Awesome. Yep.
But looking at how LSU has played against mobile quarterbacks, notably Lenore Sellers and Marcel Reed from A&M, Do you think that we're going to attack LSU with Jalen's legs more and try and establish more of a run game, or are we just going to totally abandon it if something doesn't go our way?
Well, here's what I think. I think that Alabama, off the bye week against Georgia, obviously had a great plan. I mean, they hit Georgia with everything, the kitchen sink. I think coming off a bye week, they're going to have a really good plan. I do think, in my opinion, for what it's worth, Brady, I think Alabama can run the ball on this team. This is a team that's, plays a lot of nickel like Alabama does on defense. They're really set up to prevent big plays in the passing game. I think you could just line up and run right at them with the backs and with Milroe. I think that he'll be a part of it. I don't think that it will be as Milroe dependent as it was against Georgia, but I think the plan will be to run the football. I do. I think if you can run the football and you can get them on their heels, then you can strike in the passing game. So, and I hope they don't, if it's not successful early, abandon it. They stayed with it against Missouri, and that was more of a running back-based run game, but they didn't do much in the first quarter running the ball against Missouri, but they stayed with it. And in the second half, they started gashing them. So I hope it's a run-heavy game plan, and then throw off of that, whether it's play action, screens, bootlegs, whatever you're trying to do in the passing game. So that's my hope, Brady. I think that's a good way to attack that team. Plus, if you can wear down that defense, keep their LSU offense off the field, get points, that's another way to win, because LSU's offense is explosive now. I mean, it's one of the best passing offenses in the country. And you let them on the field too much, and they're gonna hurt your defense. So if they're sitting over there on the sideline and you're churning out yards and then their drives are ending with points, I think you got a good chance to win the game. And you're right, LSU.
That's very true.
LSU struggled with Sellers, and they really struggled with Reed. Now Reed they kind of sprung him. A&M sprung him on them, and they'll have prepared for Milroe for 2 weeks. But I think the running game is there. I think that, and I hope we see a strong dose of it. I mean, I'd like to see, hopefully you get a first down, but I wouldn't mind seeing some possessions where you run it on first down, you run it on second down, you run it on third down. You run it all three plays. And that's
I think a big
Alabama.
key to it too can be that I'm driving right at the minute, but I think the last I looked, doesn't Nussmeier have? Isn't it 9 interceptions on the season? And he threw 3 against A&M, and that seems to be a formula to beat LSU. Is you force Nussmeier to make mistakes, there's some interceptions, you get turnovers, which the defense has gotten 3 turnovers in the last 2 games. Defense has been playing lights out the past 2 weeks. It's just the offense hasn't really helped them out, especially in that Tennessee game.
Well, it's like I say, pressure busts pipes. And it forces quarterbacks into mistakes. Nussmeier's not immune to it. He's a pretty cool customer, but you're right. In that second half against that A&M game, he got rattled. He got rattled. He saw ghost, and he made some throws that he's not going to make. Now, he's a really good quarterback. And if given time with those receivers, they've got great receivers like they always do at LSU. You give him time, and they can be surgical. But if you put the heat on him and you start hitting him some, I think he's a different quarterback like most quarterbacks. I mean, quarterbacks don't like to get hit. I don't care what anybody says, particularly the kind of quarterback that Nussmeier is. He's not really a runner. He's not a dual threat guy. He's a pocket passer. He does not like to get hit. And you got to apply pressure to him, and I think you got to run the ball on offense. And I think if you can do those two things, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, I think if we make them respect the run game, if you hit a few deep shots, it really makes them respect your passing game in the secondary. And if we can connect on a few of those deep shots, then we're going to spread the defense out a lot, and it'll really help out our run game.
There's no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. So you're going down.
I am.
We going down Friday or Saturday?
I'm going down Friday.
Yeah.
We're going down Friday.
Don't get any trouble down there now.
I need to get a weather report from somebody. I hear it's going to be like a hurricane or something hit.
Well, I don't know. It's they're tracking it. I think most of it's going to get wind sheared in the Gulf before it gets to land. But yeah, there could be some rain. So I'm going to keep an eye on the forecast. But right now, I think it's too early to tell. But we'll see.
Yeah, it is. It'd be crazy to have an Alabama play LSU and not in the middle of a hurricane.
I'll tell you this. In 1979, you're too young to remember it, but I remember it well. Alabama's national championship, one of the national championship seasons, 12-0 season under Coach Bryant. They went down to Baton Rouge on a Saturday night in horrible conditions. I mean, it was raining sheets, and Alabama won a 3-0 game in just a brutal rainstorm that kept their perfect season going. So,
where was that field goal kicked from? That thing had to have been kicked from like the 4-yard line.
It was a pretty short kick. I do remember that. I do remember it was a fairly short kick, but it was the only points in the game, and the conditions were about what we're talking about. I mean, it was really bad. Tommy Wilcox has told me the story that nobody wanted to return punts in the game, and he was scared to death that he was banged up, but so was Major, and Tommy was hoping he wouldn't have to return punts, but Bryant always went around to him and before the game and said, "Wilcox, you're catching punts." And he had to go out there and catch punts in that rainstorm, but did okay. All right, Brady, appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right, good to hear from you. Let's keep it going with Ellis. Hey, Ellis, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Gary Harris?
Oh, another day in paradise. You voted yet?
Man, board. Oh, yes, sir. I done that. We get the early vote here in Tennessee.
Okay.
I already got mine done. I hope everybody else gets out and does it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a heavy turnout. I really do.
But they said there's still like 8% that's undecided. Is that just stupid? I'm sorry, but daggum, if you don't know who you're going to vote for by now, you just don't.
I mean, it's like picking a football game. Sometimes people just can't. I mean, I see how that happens. Sometimes you're just torn, But the bottom line is that they make a decision and go to the poll and punch it through, and let's see what happens. So, what's going to happen on Saturday night?
Oh, I think Alabama's going to win.
I'm leaning that way myself. I made my pick tonight on Tider Insider TV, so I don't want to give it away. But now I'll tell you this: if it had been a couple weeks ago, I would have probably picked LSU. But after the A&M game, it's I don't know, give me a little bit of a different perspective, but we'll see.
38-24 is mine.
Yeah, well, I think most Alabama fans would take that right now, pal.
And boy, did the basketball team look good last night.
Incredible. Incredible. I mean, just a flat out, just dominant performance.
Every one of them balled out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Do you know if they're going to play Vanderbilt in Nashville this year?
Hang on. Let me pull it up real quick. I have to go to the schedule, but I got a minute here to do it. Hold on. Although I have just a minute. Hold on. Let me pull it up because I'd have to look to check it. Hang on. Like I said, my computer's slow this morning, and I've been having some issues with it. But once I get it pulled up, it won't take me but a second. Let me see here. It's just slow coming up. All right, let's see Alabama's SEC schedule. They've got Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa, and they only play them once. So, no, they will be not going to Nashville. They've got Vandy in Tuscaloosa on Tuesday, January the 21st.
Well, I want to plan on at least coming to, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 games.
You got to get down for a few games. Absolutely, dude.
Got to see them play. If you hadn't seen them play, you better go see them play.
That's right. All right, Ellis, I got to hit the break, man. Thanks, buddy.
All right, roll tide, Gary.
You call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky cloudy at times today and tonight. We'll have the chance of a few scattered showers around. The high today 77, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow and Thursday mostly cloudy. A chance of showers and storms both days. Highs between 75 and 78. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 74 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama fans are all over the world, and we are too. Download the Tide 100.9 app right now in the App Store and Google Play, and take the Crimson Tide everywhere you go.
10:19, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for Kayla Anderson with the Tennessee Titans report. And Titans got a win this past Sunday. Good morning, Kayla. How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys? I heard it was a little bit dreary there, and it's the same here in Nashville. Despite a great outcome this weekend that gave Titans fans something to cheer about.
Indeed. Kind of like pulling teeth watching this team try to get a win, and it looked like they might have blown another one, but they didn't. They get the win over the Patriots 20-17 in overtime. And in the National Football League, Kayla, you've covered it a long time. There's a lot that can be cured with a win. It's just regardless of what your record is, getting to celebrating that locker room, going into the next week of preparation, coming off a win is a good thing, and Tennessee gets to experience that for the second time this season. What's been the demeanor of the team since Sunday?
Yeah, and what stood out to me is, it is amazing sometimes just what a win can do for the morale, more so with this team right now, right? Because I think fans have kind of made a decision on what they think this team is at this point. And I don't think a lot of people feel that they have necessarily playoff aspirations, but I do feel like there's still a lot you can build off of this season going into next season. And anytime you can get a win and kind of see, okay, these are the pieces that we really could look forward to helping this team moving forward, that is also a win. And just going into that locker room, and I remember talking to Jeffrey Simmons, defensive lineman, and obviously the biggest leader for this team on Sunday. And he just, honestly, before we even put the cameras in his face, he said, I'm just so thankful I don't have to talk to you guys about a loss and the same things that have been plaguing us game after game. You know, you felt the relief from the biggest leader in that locker room, who has been with this team for almost 8 seasons now. So you had that, and then you had the relief of Brian Callahan. Whether you liked it or not as a fan, him kind of really showing the raw emotions when asked about how much did it mean to get that win. And he kind of started to choke up a little bit and say, I needed that one bad, or excuse me, we needed that one bad. You could just tell how it had been wearing on everybody, from probably management down to every single player. So I think it does a lot for this team, and not necessarily saying they're going to be, world beaters moving forward, but I do think that you can gain some confidence from this win. And more so than anything, you finally gain confidence that when adversity hits at any point in a game, that this team can actually fight through it. Because up to that point, whatever adversity had hit at any point of this game, the Titans lost those games.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's kind of had become their MO, but they get the win. And Mason Rudolph at quarterback, is he now the guy going forward?
No, he's not.
Okay.
And that was reiterated again by Brian Callahan on the after the game on Sunday, and then again yesterday when he meets with the media every Monday. That question is being brought up, and rightfully so. When Will Levis is healthy, is he still the guy? Even though the team seems to be making progress with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he's, great, but he's been good. And I think what's more important is the pieces around him have been better. The offensive line gaining continuity, clearly, but they also kind of know who Mason Rudolph is. And I feel like Mason has confidence in them and has showed that, therefore has helped them do their jobs better. Also, Calvin Ridley, who has not made the connection with Will Levis dating back to training camp.
Right.
He's had his 2 biggest games, for the most part, with Mason Rudolph at the quarterback spot. So I'm a little bit frustrated in a way with really what this organization wants to do. Do you want to build a winning culture? If that's the case, then I kind of think you should roll with Mason Rudolph. Or do you truly think you still haven't figured out who Will Levis is and you want to give him every opportunity moving forward? If that's the case, I guess you continue to roll with Will Levis, but I don't think that's going to equal wins.
Well, the next win is going to be a tough one. Of course, I guess when you're the Titans right now, they're all tough, but going to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, Chargers team under Jim Harbaugh that really is getting better. But it's the NFL, and if Tennessee plays well, maybe they can pull an upset. What do you think the Titans need to do to go out to the West Coast and get a win on Sunday?
Well, I mean, and it does look like Will Levis is possibly going to have an opportunity to play. And you can look at that in two ways, right? You can look at that as maybe we see a Will Levis who for the past few weeks has been on the bench viewing his future, viewing that position in a different light. Maybe, you know, with the things he said about rewiring his brain, which he, I think, regrets saying, maybe it has allowed him to calm his mind down a little and to maybe not be too, you know, over competitive in situations where he's overthinking things. That's the benefit. Maybe you can see growth in him and he gets out there and wants to prove something when they're on the road this weekend in LA. However, I think the negative part about that too is we have had some significant injuries just within this last Sunday. There's Quandre Diggs, who came over here this year in a one-year deal, played really well at the safety position, out for the season with significant lower body injury. Also, the center that the Titans paid for, I think one of the highest paid centers in terms of a deal, they brought over Lloyd Cushenberry from the Broncos. He has been really solid just for gluing this line together. He's out for the entire season with an Achilles injury. So, you know, with Will Levis specifically benefiting from that spot in the center position, I think that's where it could hurt, right? Because you just started to get some consistency with the line play. Now you've got him out. Dylan Radin's the starting right guard. He's dealing with some injuries as well. So you might go backwards in a way. I don't know how much hope I have with this team going on the road and then putting Will in back at quarterback with some things in front of him that aren't quite healthy.
I'm with you, Kayla. You mentioned Ridley and, had the meltdown a few weeks back, but you said it last couple of weeks. He had 143 yards against the Lions, 73 against the Patriots. Hopkins is in Kansas City. What's his mindset now? Is he obviously happier and feel like he's a more focal part of the offense?
Such a weird thing that I don't think anybody's really ever going to find a real answer to. Why wasn't Calvin Ridley figuring it out before D-Hop was traded to the Chiefs? Which, again, you're right. I mean, 2 touchdowns yesterday, obviously, around 80 yards receiving seems to be an instant hit there, like he was when he came here last year for Will Levis. He was kind of Will Levis's binky or pacifier, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, he really wasn't doing much here this season. However, I do feel like when you have too many cooks in the kitchen and you've got some really veteran presence guys like D-Hop and Calvin Ridley who both kind of want the ball, right? They could very possibly be in the ears, and I'm speaking of D-Hop here, be in the ears of Will Levis and, be in the ears of Brian Callahan. Hey, I need to get the ball more. And I do feel like maybe that was a situation here that he wanted the ball, and it kind of made things a little weird in that wide receiver room. I'm not calling him a nuisance or anything. He has no bad blood with this organization leaving, but I do feel like it can affect also a guy like Calvin Ridley who comes in here and kind of expects to be the guy who's being paid to be the guy here. And he kind of feels like he can't grow his confidence anyway, because the minute he left, all of a sudden Calvin Ridley is doing what he was brought here to do. I find that a little bit ironic. But regardless to say, he's got his confidence back. Mason Rudolph said he is like the most least non-diva receiver I've ever worked with. He goes, all he does is try to go out there and fix what the problem is. He goes out there and does anything to make himself try to be better. So you love to hear that.
And lastly, of course, you go to bed early because you get up really early. I don't know if you were up for the end of the Monday night game last night, but Tampa Bay fought and scratched and, without Goodwin, without Adams at wide receiver, they tie this thing up with 20-something seconds to go or score the touchdown to put them back behind 1. And they made the decision to kick the extra point, which I found peculiar. Troy Aikman found peculiar. I get it. I guess you get to overtime, but you just feel like at Kansas City that if you don't win that coin toss, you got no shot to begin with. And they kicked the point. They didn't win the coin toss. Chiefs score a touchdown, and it's ball game, which I still don't like that rule. I think both teams should have a chance to touch the ball, barring a defensive touchdown. But what about that call to not go ahead and just try to win it or lose it after you fought back to get that late touchdown.
Yeah, and I think I read something along the lines of like analytics said like that was the right thing to go with the field goal and just get the guaranteed for the most part points. But I'm kind of on the line along the lines that you are. And in a situation like that, by the way, the weather kind of crappy last night, and the Chiefs have these added weapons now, just getting D-Hop there and everything. And why not what do you have to really lose at that point, right? I mean, you give then possibly Kansas City the ball and you have a feeling like they're going to go down and do exactly what they did. And you have Patrick Mahomes, right? So I just feel like in that situation, what do you have to lose? And again, I'm not a head coach, so I don't make those decisions. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I kind of feel like just go for it, go for the win in that situation. And unfortunately, they didn't do that, and they didn't come out with the dub. They didn't have a chance to get on offense. So
that's right. Once again, I wish they'd go to the playoff rule for that. But and Derrick Henry just continues to be phenomenal. Titans fans celebrating his success, or do you feel like there's some disappointment that he's still not with Tennessee?
No, I think what I've actually really loved about Titans fans, and this is the first time in a long time that we've seen some major pieces that were beloved here move on. So I really got a feel for what these fans are like, right? Because they're frustrated with their team, and rightfully so. These fans, like, I'm telling you, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins leaving and he was only here 1 year, they're so happy for him to be able to find success with a winning team. And that's just the same thing that has been the case for Derrick Henry. People are just like happy for the individual. And I think it's because of how they embrace Nashville, whether you were here 8 seasons like Derrick or a year and a half like DeAndre Hopkins. Both players completely embraced not just the team, but the Nashville community. And I think that's the biggest thing why they are beloved wherever they will go, or, where they are now, is because they did that. And it just goes to show how tight-knit this community truly is. They want to, see those people who loved this community truly to have success wherever they go.
Great stuff as always, and let everybody know where they can find you, the show, and also social media.
Yeah, you can find me at Kayla Anderson TV on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can also download our podcast, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're on every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. You can find that wherever you find your podcast.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thanks, Gary. Take care, y'all.
All right, 10:32. And before we get to the break, I do want to remind you that the YMCA of Tuscaloosa is ready for you. The Y is ready for you when you're ready for the Y. 2300 13th Street downtown. Get by and see them today. Get a tour. Check out all they have to offer. Great facility, locker rooms, personal training, fitness classes, child daycare, silver sneakers program for seniors, and much more. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 205-345-9622, YMCATuscaloosa.org. We're back with Steve Skipper, celebrated sports artist, next.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadways.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't
check out the website, chowscountrybuffet.com. Call 205-810-8888. The all-new Chow's Country Buffet, Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
And we're going to jump right back out on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline and welcome in the celebrated sports artist, although it's probably unfair just to call him a sports artist only. Steve Skipper at Prince are out there. He's painted world leaders and a lot of other great pieces of work outside of the realm of sports, but certainly that's what a lot of us are focused on here in Alabama. Good morning, Steve. How are you doing?
Good morning, my brother Gary. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning.
Well, glad to have you. And this latest work of art that you've got with Nick Saban and really the whole tenure at Alabama, his life, Miss Terry. This is a special piece of work that not anybody could do, and not just anybody would be allowed to do. But you have the Sabans' trust. You have their go ahead and green light, and you put together one of the most beautiful pieces of Nick Saban art we have ever seen. Tell us more about it if you can.
I really appreciate that, Gary. Knowing Coach Saban and his life, he's subtly told his story, his complete story, the whole while he's been in Alabama, and it's a great story. And the fact that he learned how to coach and how to play from his dad, and his relationship with his dad was extremely important, and at the same time his relationship with his mom and his sister also. And I think that it was important to show and chronicle from age probably 9 years old to now how he thrived from that relationship and what he got from his family unit, and how that spilled over into 17 years at Alabama, and not only on the football field, but extremely off the football field.
It's The Process Unlimited. That's the name of this beautiful piece of art, and it was unveiled a couple of weeks ago with Coach Saban and Miss Terry. I want to ask you about, you've done this in unveilings before with other famous people. Do you get butterflies at something like this, even though I know you were proud of the piece of work, when you've got the two main people that are in the painting, Coach Saban and Miss Terry, there to see the unveiling? Were you nervous at all?
Oh my God, it wasn't butterflies, they were eagles. and it's called The Process Fulfilled. And knowing that they were going to be there, and then knowing how much time I had put into it, it was over 2,000 hours, and I had extreme eye strain, while I was there.
Yeah.
Looking at four people. But I was just, eager to see what they were going to think, because if we went kind of deep, as far as intimacy, said the part about the family. I mean, we got Mel Moore also in there, and they think so deeply of him and everything he did, because without him, this never would have happened. And this is the first time that a sports art painting, celebrating or including him, we included Miss Terry and his relationship with her, and how, she's such an integral part of what happened at Alabama and what happened in his career period, because, he had some great days at Alabama, but, you remember when he was in the pros, he had some tough days. Those days when he was with Belichick and everything was very, very tough, and she was with him through it all. And so one thing that not only survived but thrived through it all was their relationship. They're not just close; they have a real special relationship. And when you see Coach Saban on the field, most people think that's him, but that's not really him.
Right?
I mean, you meet him; he's a totally different person. But seeing him in practice, he knows how to turn on a switch. And then seeing him on the field in a game, there's another switch. but then when he looks in the eyes of Miss Terry, there's a totally different man.
Wow.
So what we wanted to do was to maintain likeness through the years, but at the same time, when he looks in the eyes of Miss Terry, you don't have that same intensity. It's another intensity. And he's extremely in love with her. And she carries a lot of power in his life and influence and inspiration. So we wanted to, make sure that was in there. But at the same time, one of the most important things to Coach Saban is over, I think it's right at 700 players that have got their degrees, and we wanted to put that in there also. And there's one special scene in there that I love, that he came to Alabama. He left LSU, went to the NFL, came back from the Miami Dolphins to Alabama. And one day they were at LSU. They were returned to LSU to play LSU. And his ritual of walking around the field before the game. And he would walk around the field, and Miss Terry would meet him at the end of the walk. And when they met, they gave each other fist bump. I thought that was too cool. And so we put that in there. But one of the things that caught Miss Terry's eye was when he played football. He learned how to play football from his dad. And his dad was his coach. And he played at Kent State. Once he went to college, he played at Kent State. And the picture is a black and white picture that we used in there. And I had to learn how to, you paint a full color painting, but you study, the tones and everything of black and white, like black and white photographs of black. And you look at a lot of black and white TV, there are a lot of different tones that are not black and white. It's a whole lot of other different codes to make it look like that. And when she saw that picture, she said, I got this picture, this photograph on my desk in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And from that one, and when she saw his mom just passed away, and when she saw Mel Moore, she lost it.
Yeah.
And he started crying and wiping his eyes, and I said, Lord, what did I do right here?
Well, that's the key, and I was going to get to it. Of course, you got Coach Moore in there, which was, had to be, if you're going to have the process fulfilled, Coach Moore is a big part of it. But you're nervous. As you said, you got your stomach is in lumps, and all of a sudden you unveil it, and you see their reactions, and they tell you personally how pleased they are with what you've done. That had to be, I know, money's important, and a lot of things in life that we need, and certainly you hope that this painting is does well for you financially, clearly too. But I would imagine those reactions are worth much more than any amount of money could provide you with. Just how pleased they were with what you did.
You said that in such a great way. I mean, I've just unveiled a painting that was commissioned by Buckingham Palace of Queen Elizabeth, and it's been included into the Royal Collection. And we had a reception with the British Consulate General at the consulate's office, and I thought that was cool. But when we unveiled this painting of Coach Saban and knowing him, and Miss Terry, and the feeling that was in the room, I've never felt it. And I'm telling you, I never felt that before. It was actually magical. And it's something I'll never forget. And, God's blessed me tremendously with a lot of open doors, and we got some other stuff that's coming up. But I don't know. I was telling my sons, I don't know if God can top that one. I mean, my son was with me. He was taking the photographs and everything. And I said, I don't know if, we can ever, the feeling that I feel right now, and it's not going away. It's still there. We're in the reproduction process, and I'm still feeling that same feeling, and then they're going to be more involved in the marketing and everything, and we're looking forward to helping Nick's Kids Foundation.
Right.
But it's just the opportunity to say his whole testimony, to say he's more than a football coach. He's the greatest football coach that ever coached, but what he got from his mom and dad, and what he is inspired by with Miss Terry and is the personal relationships with all of them. And, this is a serious kind of man. And so we really wanted to say that to everybody and let them know, because we're just as inspired by his relationship with Miss Terry as we're inspired by how many wins and how many trophies he's raised, And so it's great to say this kind of stuff about him right now than to wait until he passes away. And now everybody wants to find something great to say about him. But I'm glad that we can say this right now, and he can receive it right now. He can feel it right now, and artwork will outlive us all. And so I'm just looking forward to him, receiving what he deserves. He's earned it.
You said so much right there, and I think that's what's playing out in front of people's eyes is that as a football coach, as you said, you saw the intensity, you saw the singular focus, you saw the drive, and even though there was a lot of good work being done through Nick's kids, Miss Terry, a big part of that, but still, we saw him as a football coach. What him retiring has led us to be able to experience is what you're talking about, as someone who got to know him, that he is much more than just a football coach, and that his commitment and love, he and Miss Terry's love that they built up over 17 years for this community, did not end when he retired as a football coach at Alabama. I know they got a beach home and they've got some other properties, but they continue to keep their home here in Tuscaloosa. This continues to be the base. They continue to work Nick's kids, probably even more so involved now in community because he's not coaching. We see what he's been able to do on TV and how entertaining he is. But I'm glad that you pointed out you've known this for a while, but now we're all getting to see the depth of this man and the fact that I think a lot of people were like, well, he used to say, what will I do when I don't coach football anymore? Well, he's doing a lot, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of, did a painting for Coach Bobby Bowden. And you remember Coach Bryant used to wonder, what would I do if I ever had to retire?
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Robinson at Grambling, the same thing. And once they retired, their lives were just totally football. And so, but when Coach Saban, it's something about Coach Saban, man, that a lot of people don't realize the residual effect of what his dad taught him and what he's demonstrated and how it's affected other lives. And you don't come in contact with this man and something doesn't happen in your life. There's so many different testimonies. Mine is, he gave me an opportunity that a lot of people wouldn't. And the first time I met him, I told him I wanted to do a painting of him. And this is the first time he just got to Alabama. He looked at me and said, let me give you something to paint. And I thought that he was going to go in his office and give me a photograph. And what he really meant was, why don't you wait until I give you something worthy to put on a canvas? And the next thing you know, he wins a national championship and he calls and says, let's go.
Wow.
And he didn't just want a portrait. He wanted something that was worthy of a portrait. I just can't say enough about the personal relationship with him away from the field. And everybody knows, like we said, he's the greatest of all time on the field. There's no doubt about that. He's made that clear. But off that field, if you can be as great of a husband as you can be as a coach, that's saying something. Because if you look around the league, you don't see that. The relationship with him and Miss Terry, you don't see that. You look at all these other different colleges, all these other different coaches, and all their relationships with their wives. You don't see that, man. I mean, it's something that some of us, not everybody, I guess, but some of us need to see. Love. It's the most powerful force in the world.
Wow.
And they got it. They got it. Love is more powerful than football. And they got it. They got it real good. I'm talking about she is he's still the high school sweetheart.
Mm-mm-mm.
I mean,
what a love story. Yeah.
He shared a date with Miss Terry just like he did, you heard the Mickey Schaefer story. He still cherishes, when he looks in her eyes, man, it's just magic. He still does that. And it was important to be able to capture that in the painting, is to see all these from 9 years old all the way to now hold his image and his likeness in every situation. And the intensity of a Tuscaloosa practice where, bro, I mean, he is the epitome of intensity. But at the same time, every time you see him in that painting, he's looking at her. It's a totally different intensity. It's love. I mean, at its highest peak. And when they saw it, when they were standing there together and they were looking at it, they grabbed each other's hands. And I said, Lord, this is real. And so I don't know what else we got in. We got some negotiations going on with Buckingham Palace to do the King, but you'll never see with King Charles what you see with Nick Saban.
Wow. Well, listen, before we wrap it up, let's get to, SteveSkipperStudio.com. As you start to do the reprints and make this available to the public, how can people get their copy of The Process fulfilled?
Well, we're taking pre-orders right now, and it looks like this is going to be a pretty successful landslide. And, one of the things that he wanted, Coach Saban wanted the first canvas clay reproduction. He wants that to go into the Saban Center. And, they told us about certain other things that they wanted at the same time. But it's something that he's really excited about. And like I said, they're going to be taking part in the some of the future marketing that we're going to do, and so we're looking forward to it. It's really going to be exciting. Man,
can't wait to see it when it's and hopefully in my condo here soon. SteveSkipperStudio.com, folks, is where you can get all the information. Thanks so much, Steve.
Gary, start clearing away some wall space, bro.
All right, my friend. Thank you. All right, Steve Skipper with us, 10:52 here on the Gary Harris Show. And a reminder that lunchtime is right around the corner, and you might want to consider Brick and Spoon. If you even if you had breakfast this morning, go back for lunch. That's what's great about it. Breakfast, brunch, and lunch downtown at Timerson Square, open until 2 o'clock every day, 7 days a week. And on the weekends, it's even more fun with football games in town. Boy, with all those build your own Bloody Marys, all the mimosas that they churn out. But that breakfast food is still got to get Chase over there. You got to try out one of my personal favorite, my own little custom order that I have is a strawberry single pancake with 2 strawberry marmalades, sliced strawberries, whipped cream, 2 eggs scrambled with cheese, either bacon, sausage, or ham, and sliced banana. That's my go-to, my friend. I sometimes will get 100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky cloudy at times today and tonight. We'll have the chance of a few scattered showers around. The high today 77, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow and Thursday mostly cloudy. A chance of showers and storms both days. Highs between 75 and 78. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 73 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:57. Our thanks to Steve Skipper, man. That was a really insightful interview on Nick and Terry Saban and the beautiful painting that he has done, The Process Fulfilled. Find out more at SteveSkipperStudio.com. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. A reminder, you can catch me on TV tonight, and hopefully we're close to being back to full power at WVUA 23. I'm hearing this week. I hope so. But Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr tonight at 6:30, plus your local news. Back here tomorrow for the Wednesday edition. The NASCAR report. I'll be taking a victory lap in the morning after I picked another winner with Ryan Blaney and clinched my own championship, beat Matt 6-2, at least going into the final race in terms of winners. But we'll get ready for the final race at Phoenix. Plus, Larry the Music Man will join us as well. That's coming up tomorrow. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next at 11 a.m. For Chase Brumfeld, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been the Gary Harris Show. Talk to you again in the morning at 9 a.m.
for listening to